Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from RotoWire here with today's NFL training camp news and notes with fantasy football analysis to help you in your upcoming drafts. Look, before we start, I just did a live stream a little bit earlier with Billy Muzio. Oh my gosh, it was an amazing stream. We went about an hour, but we broke down 12 high-profile players. Some players we are advocating for, some against. It's a must-watch. You can find that video on the RotoWire YouTube, the RotoWire Twitter, and even the RotoWire Facebook page. Look that one up. You won't want to miss it. Give Billy Muzio a follow at FF Muzio, and I'm at Jim Coventry NFL. All right, let's get rolling here. We're starting out with the Washington Commanders today. Logan Thomas was activated from the PUP list. Although eligible to practice, is not sure if he'll be ready yet for week one. Now, he was cleared, so he will likely be able to contribute at some point early in the season. No definitive word on that. Now, remember, in 2020, Logan Thomas had his one huge season of his career, 670 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, last year, he suffered the knee injury, only played 6 games, and he was injured in that 6th game. So he had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he could have been at a very similar pace to what his career year was. They're not earth-shattering numbers, but hey, as a borderline tight end starter, they were great. Now, we're not sure how he comes back from the knee, but what I do understand is this. Now, I know Carson Wentz had excellent tight ends in Philadelphia when he had Zach Ertz and he had Dallas Goedert, and he definitely connected with them because they were probably the best players on the team. But he did show good ability to get the ball to his bigger targets in the middle of the field. So I think Logan Thomas can be involved here. But we got to analyze what we can really expect from this Washington passing attack. First thing, look, they were terrible last year. Their defense was terrible. They, per Warren Sharp, faced the toughest schedule in the NFL last year. This year, it's a complete flip, the 8th easiest schedule. So they go from torture to cake. And what that means to me is that it's possible the defense, yes, they had some struggles. William Jackson wasn't used to playing zone. He's more of a man corner, got better as the season went on. Injuries, Chase Young could be back early this season, but they lost him. Just nothing went right for them. This defense has, I believe, enough talent to make some noise. And if they do, facing a much easier schedule, it's possible they have lower scoring games. And ultimately, we don't know what the backfield will look like. This isn't what we're talking about the passing game, but I got to get there. I got to build a case. And when we're looking at the backfield, Brian Robinson's involved. Antonio Gibson's the news been all over the board. J.D. McKissick as a receiver. But I think at these ultimate core, Ron Rivera, the coach, he'd like to play defense, use the running game, pass when he can, and they know they have Carson Wentz. I don't think they want to put the offense on Wentz's shoulders because I think they understand the track record. If they make it pass-centric, they're almost destined to fail here. So who is Wentz going to throw to? Preseason games don't mean much, but Carson Wentz show a good connection with Terry McLaurin. They had a nice slant in the intermediate field, and then they kind of had like a simulated mid-screen. They worked well. I do believe that we know Carson Wentz will feed his alpha. Terry McLaurin can win in all levels of the field. And Carson Wentz, and he'll have a decent protection here, and he does throw a good deep ball. So I think Terry McLaurin, in my mind, is so far locked in as the number one. But now we get into Jahan Dotson was a mid-first round pick, and he projects to be a very good player. But in Curtis Samuel, he's had a lot of injuries, but when he's been utilized well and been healthy, he's played well. I just think ultimately, if Logan Thomas is healthy enough, that middle of the field is going to be somewhere where Wentz likes to go. So Logan Thomas will be somewhat involved. He's not going to be high volume, okay? But again, we're looking borderline. If he's healthy, starting tight end 12-ish, he can make that type of range. But he's risky because of the injury. There's other good choices. I'm worried about Jahan Dotson, not because he's a player, but because of Carson Wentz. He does love to pound that alpha, and I think that's pretty established. McLaurin, look, say what you want. He's a horrendous quarterback playing his career. He is an elite wide receiver. He almost has the Allen Robinson issue, and Robinson had all those bad quarterbacks. McLaurin is a legitimate superstar. And I think this year we see a little bit of that. And then Curtis Samuel at his ADP, well, he's going so late. He's a throwaway pick anyway. anyway. So certainly take a flyer on Samuel. If he gets the ball, manufactured touches, he could really work out there. But I just don't think Dotson has a somewhat aggressive ADP for a player that I think Wentz isn't going to support. And that's the only knock. It's not a knock on Jahan Dotson. It's a knock on the situation. Remember, even last year with the Colts, again, a run-heavy team, Wentz averaged 209 passing yards a game. And, with the run-heavy nature, he had 516 attempts last year. Does he get that here? Again, with the easy schedule, maybe not. Joe, thanks for checking in. Yeah, I know McLaurin. McLaurin's, we love him. He's finally going to get a chance to show what he really can do, and I love that. So anyway, that's kind of the take on the Washington passing game. In on McLaurin. Logan Thomas is a late dart throw if you need a second tight end, especially if you're in a 2 tight end league and you get him as a 3rd tight end, that's even better. Draft him outside the top 20, and just if he gets healthy, then that works out. Injuries. So Mike Evans did miss time with a hamstring. He's back to practice. That's beautiful. So assuming no setback, draft him as you normally would. Seems like to be the all clear here, because if he wasn't, they certainly wouldn't bring him back. There'd be no reason to do that. They need obviously him. Chris Godwin, we're not sure how he'll come back. We know we expect him back. We don't know exactly when, but we always worry off an ACL, a player that really relies on that high end agility, that could be a bit problematic. Michael Thomas is back in the news. And, it was a great month of August till now. For the most part, he had been clear of the injury and it was looking good. Now he's missed multiple practices with a hamstring injury. And I can't tell you a thing about why. As an analyst, our questions are, well, he's missed so much time. Wonder, getting into like game speed and practice. I don't know. But I do know it's a red flag. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a short 3 to 5 day injury, a little twinge. He's fine, comes back. But I know that after missing with an ankle injury a year and a half, I have big concerns about that time. That was so abnormal. And now if the hamstring injury is, compensatory in some way, and maybe he's favoring, I don't know, not a doctor, but I'm concerned. I think it's a red flag. Michael Thomas's ADP is zipping up, certainly not going to be in the range he used to be, because I think everybody knows at this point Drew Brees isn't there and he's not going to get that level of target volume. But be careful if you're drafting him. Understand that there could be issues that come from him having such a long layoff, and also that rapport with Jameis Winston. I don't think it's anywhere close to what Drew Brees was. Michael Thomas was a slant king, and Drew Brees was the quarterback that could capitalize on it. Jameis Winston's a gunslinger. I really wonder how that meshes. Now, at Thomas's ADP, if he's healthy, I think a lot of that is baked in. And, if you're aggressively targeting him, that's fine. But the injury does get me nervous. Isaiah Spiller's next. So apparently he sprained his ankle in the preseason game. He's already questionable for week 1. And then the report that Joshua Kelley's kind of been a thing. He had 3.1 and 3.2 yards per carry in his first 2 seasons. Not a player who we thought would be any, thing on the fantasy radar. But all of a sudden, Austin Eckler, he is begged for help on early downs. And Kelley's impressed. And now if Spiller misses time, and if Kelley can somehow turn it around and play well, he could get an in on some playing time. Now, it's not like they put crazy draft capital in Spiller as the 4th round, so it's no major commitment. It's a similar commitment they made to Kelley. So right now, it's a mess in that backfield. There was early buzz positive on Spiller, but that kind of slowed down a bit. So again, right now, I don't have any definitive advice, because nothing's come out to say that anybody is the guy and anybody to keep that job. It could be a rotating door. Hey, maybe they have to overuse Austin Eckler again. Great if you draft him. I was banking on somebody stepping up, and that may happen, but who knows, right? Jameis Winston's next. So he's back on the field. We know he's recovering from ACL, but he had a foot injury as well. Returned to 11 on 11 drills. Bodes well for his week 1 availability. He's being picked outside the top 20 quarterbacks, rightfully so. He's a second quarterback in leagues. If you're starting 2 the same way, if you're in a league that starts 1, a 12-team league, then you need a backup. He's reasonable. He has a strong trio of receiving weapons, and Alvin Kamara, assuming he can get the ball to him somewhat effectively in the screen game. If for some reason the Saints have to throw off, and he could outperform his ADP, but I don't see that happening. The Saints have a good defense. They still are very good, and I believe they want to win with running the ball, limiting Winston's potential for mistakes, and playing defense. So ultimately, with the great set of receivers, I think that we may not see Winston have a lot of games over 25 pass attempts, and of those passes, I don't know how aggressive they're going to be. So that gets me a little bit nervous about the New Orleans passing attack as well. Baker Mayfield, as expected, he won the starting quarterback job. He's not being drafted in single quarterback leagues, rightfully so. 2 quarterback leagues, he's being picked very late. The only thing I'll say about Baker Mayfield is this. I do believe that, and you've heard me say this before, Odell Beckham just was not a good skill fit for Mayfield because Beckham freelanced. When Beckham saw something on the field, he would change his route. But Baker Mayfield was never on the same page with that. Baker Mayfield needs to be on script. DJ Moore, I believe, is that guy. He'll keep on script, has amazing run after the catch ability. And then even Christian McCaffrey, obviously, he'll run routes as a receiver, not just a running back, and the yardage he can get after the catch. So I think the beauty that we have for Mayfield is that if he gets the ball to Moore and McCaffrey heavily, they can pile up the yardage after the catch. DJ Moore will actually work on deep routes with Mayfield because, again, those deep routes will be more disciplined. It won't be Odell Beckham in Cleveland breaking off a route and then throwing Baker off. Moore will stick with the plan and he can win that way. So I do think Mayfield is not much more than a low-end QB2, but I think he could be a decent QB2 because the defense is not that good in Carolina. They could trail a lot. The offensive line has been upgraded, and he'll get enough protection. And again, with dangerous weapons that can win in space, you might be looking at 22 touchdowns, which for QB2, that's probably not so bad. He may average maybe 215, 220 yards a game. I don't see it a whole lot more than that, but nonetheless, serviceable QB2. Robert Tonyan's next. So he had that knee injury last year, hasn't been cleared for team drills, but it looks like they've got him back from the PUP list, even though he may not be ready right away. Here's what you got to think about Robert Tonyan. So if you're in a league that starts one quarterback, I think you can't draft him because I'm not sure when he'll be back, what his full functionality will be. And we look back 2 seasons ago, and we know he had that great season. He had the 52 receptions, 586, and 11 touchdowns. He caught those 52 passes on 59 targets, only 7 incomplete passes. We don't see efficient seasons like that. It was a perfect storm. However, the upside for him, we know we don't have a full idea of what this passing attack will be like. We don't know what the receivers are going to be like in Green Bay. Tonyan could see more volume than he had seen in prior years. Devontae's gone, and that's huge. So he could see some volume. But here's the thing. Unless you have an IR spot you could stash him on, or if you're in a league where you draft 2 tight ends, and then you give him 2-3 weeks if he's on the field, great. That'll be fine. But that's the deal with Tonyan. It's that don't forget that season was so crazy efficient. Don't look for that to match, but he could offset that with volume. Again, the injury still is problematic. So again, only if you could stash him or if he's deep on your bench, you give him a whirl, but otherwise at a tighter bench, you can't draft him. Joe, Romeo, what about my Romeo? It's an opportunity, right? Aaron Rodgers is looking for somebody to step up and make plays. And the comments Rodgers made about the rookie receivers, I don't know how much that was about Dubs. Dubs has had inconsistencies in camp. He's had some drops, but he's made some plays. And they need somebody to make plays for them. I think there's a reasonable chance that Dubs is in the mix soon. And look, he can get downfield. And Aaron Rodgers is, as long as Dubs can reward Rodgers' trust, it's going to be something that can work. Dubs' ADP has not gotten out of control. You can get him, in the moderate rounds of drafts. And I think at his ADP, why not? It's a flyer that if he works out, you can win that one in spades. And if it doesn't work out, well, what's the worst case scenario? You picked him in the mid rounds, double-digit rounds well into him. You cut him. You move forward and life goes on. You're not using a premium pick on him. So I just don't see what the risk is there. Again, you're playing with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to throw to somebody, right? And KJ Hamler is next. He was activated from the PUP on August 1st, but he didn't practice until Monday, which is August 22nd. So 3 full weeks till he practiced. So we're not sure what his full availability, his full ability is coming off the ACL, but he's being drafted outside the top 70 receivers. And again, same thing like with what we're talking about earlier with Dubs, but Hamler goes way, 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 way later. So now that late pick on Hamler, here's what I like about Hamler. So unfortunately, Tim Patrick got hurt. Hamler could factor in 3 receiver sets. He's pretty much a slot guy. But remember, I'm not comparing him to Tyler Lockett, but what Tyler Lockett did for Russell Wilson was the one area in the middle of the field where Russell Wilson wins is the deep middle of the field. And that was where Tyler Lockett specialized. Well, KJ Hamler has blazing speed out of the slot. So he could actually replicate some of those things that Lockett did best and where Russell Wilson could take advantage of it. So I think Hamler could have quite a few spike weeks. And I think if you draft him in a managed league, I think the weeks you start him are in the games that are projected shootouts or games that Denver plans heads to trail because he may get more snaps when they play heavier 3-receiver sets. Because I think they're going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets, and a lot of times it's just going to be Judy and Patrick on the field. So it's going to be real game script dependent, and he obviously won't hit every game. But Hamler could have a sneaky good season because of that skill set match with Russell Wilson. And then Kenyon Drake has been informed by the Raiders of his release. So now, obviously, his fantasy value goes to 0. However, if you're in a deep league, you're drafting now, and Drake is there 20th round, 18th round, I think you take a flyer on him. If he ends up somewhere, if there's a running back injury, if he gets an opportunity, maybe he gets a prominent role. Now, he's not a great running back, but if he has opportunity, that means something. You know that with the running back position, we always need running backs. So right now, people will piece out on him, but I think it's an opportunity super late to take a flyer. Like I said, you draft these guys late, 1-2 weeks, nothing happens, cut them, go to the waiver wire. The last thing you want on your bench is a player you think you got to hold on to. If you got to hold on to those players, it's like, well, I can't drop them. I need, want to go to the waiver wire. Well, a player like Drake doesn't pan out. Done, easy turn, life goes on. Don't see any questions in the stream, so I think we are good for today. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Oh, we got one more question. Any updates on Burks? So, yeah, Treylon Burks, it's real interesting. It's been negative buzz on him, Joe. The buzz has not been good. And, the other receivers are stepping up. With a rookie, you want to hear that positive buzz, and the team wants to present that positive buzz. It just does not seem to be working out right now. Now, remember this. When, Ryan Tannehill has already got probably a rapport with Robert Woods. Woods has been on the field even despite the knee injury. He runs his routes. He's very, very, precise route runner. Austin Hooper, remember, was a top 5 tight end when he had an opportunity in Atlanta, and then he went to Cleveland in a 3 tight end mix, and that really, killed his opportunity. But he's going to be a factor in the middle of the field. So now it's a matter of Treylon Burks, what he's able to do. To me right now, it sounds like he's getting a slow start acclimating to the NFL. I think if he's going to be a really good player, it might be in year 2. Remember this as well. So many first-round players in the NFL bust. Now, there was bad buzz on Jamar Chase last year, and he blew the roof off, right? So but usually, if there's a negative drumbeat, we're raising that bust risk. So I'm going to let somebody else take Treylon Burks in my drafts. He's still going roughly 100 picks in, wide receiver 46. It's still early enough in a draft where I think there's too much risk to take him. Can he end up being great? Yes. But remember, Tennessee wants to run the ball. And if Derrick Henry's fine, that's the route they're going to go. So basically, the update's been just negative buzz. There has not been a positive story coming out. And so that's where we sit with that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your night, and we will see you soon.